Nosedive.
All right, it is 10 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order, certify that we do have a quorum. All 5 members are present. Item number 2 is opening prayer. Do we have Reverend Lagos here? I don't believe we do. Ricky, you mind leading us in an opening prayer? And following that, Commissioner Hollowell, will you lead us in the pledges? Would everybody please rise?
Shall we pray? Our Father, we're thankful today for the privilege that we have to come and participate in this meeting. We thank you for the process and the way our government system is set up, and we pray, Lord, that you'd give us wisdom and guidance that we could conduct this business of the county here in a proper manner before you. We pray for our country, pray for the leaders as we go forward. May your will be done in the things that are done in our nation. And we'll be careful to give you the honor and glory for it all. In Christ's name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge this flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
A little brain fart there. Item number 5 is public comments on agenda items. I don't believe we had anybody sign up. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they wish to pull?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent by Commissioner Leon Clement. Second by Commissioner Snuggs. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 7 is a presentation by Gabriel Roeder Smith and Company for Cooke County FY20 Gas fee 75 report and approval of that report. I believe we have them on, or should have them on the call. They were calling in this morning. Is somebody on that call?
We should have Daniel. Daniel, are you there?
Are they unmuted?
Might not have thought they'd get to him that quick.
I know, that was quick.
I love technology.
Hello?
Yes, sir. This is Judge Brinkley. You are up.
Oh, thank you. My name is Dan Siblick. I work for GRS. I'm one of the actuaries that works on the retiree medical plan for Cooke County. So I'm going to give a quick summary of it, and here we go. So the county has medical coverage for retirees available, and you have to disclose these liabilities every year. The report I'm referring to is a GASB Statement Number 75 report, and that's financial reporting required by the government. We do this report once a year for our clients. Quick plan details are that if you meet the eligibility, you will get your premiums covered. The plan has an HRA set up with a deductible as well. Basically, if you're hired January 1, 1998 or later, if you are 62 with 20 years of service, you will get your premiums covered. And there's also some vision and dental coverage. This benefit goes until the retiree is eligible for Medicare. So for a lot of people, it goes from 62 to 65. This plan is unfunded, which is common for an OPEB plan like this. So it has no assets compared to a pension plan that would fund from its inception. So all that culminates in a liability for the plan. That liability is almost exactly $2 million as of December 31, 2019. That is up from $1.8 million 1 year ago at 12/31/2018. A liability number like this is kind of hard without any context. So this number is measured against covered payroll for the group. And as a percent of payroll, that $2 million liability is 15.6% of payroll. This would be similar when you go in for a mortgage to a debt-to-income ratio, a way to measure what's your debt, what's your income. So 15.6%, if we look at other plans in Texas, The median, so half below, half above, is about 27% of payroll. And again, this one is 15.6%. If we look at county plans, the median is higher. It's about 51%. Half the plans are above, half are below. The liability that we come up with has to be valued at a municipal bond rate. And as interest rates have gone down over time, and in the last year, we have a very low interest rate. So the low interest rate creates a high liability. So that's a lot of the driver behind the increase from 1.8 million a year ago to 2 million this year. 2 years ago, or about a year ago, the county switched to that HRA. There was a big saving. The liability would have been much higher. So that's all been baked in. Now that plan is heading forward. And as we stand at 12/31/2019, again, it's $2 million liability and about 15.6% over payroll. That was my quick summary I was going to give. Are there any questions?
Do we have any questions for Dan?
How many people we have on this? How many people qualify?
So right now there's 179 actives who could eventually at some point earn eligibility and get into it. We currently, as of the data we have is from 12/31/2018, and we had 5 retirees that were getting benefits.
All right, I read that right.
Is this an annual report?
Yes.
We do this once a year, yes. We only get the data once every 2 years, though.
Okay, that's what I was.
Yeah, GASB allows a roll forward year, so you do a val, and the next year you do a roll forward. It's a lot cheaper to do it that way. And then the next val we'll have the new data.
And this is a segment, a section that's in the annual financial report, booking on paper. We don't actually write a check anywhere. We don't actually pay anything, but this
Right.
does get looked at if we were to be evaluated for bond ratings
Some type of
and
financing or
and
something,
financing
yeah,
and
yeah.
things like that.
It's your long-term
Exactly.
liability, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you do write payments for like the premiums that are covered, and we try to value like what is that going to be over the life of this plan? So yeah, you don't write a check for this number.
Any other questions on this report? We do need to approve.
So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement. Second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? Yeah, we're just accepting the report.
Yeah.
We're not approving,
We're
well,
just accepting
approval of the report for, accepting it, not, yeah. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Dan.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Item number 8 is deliberate consider possible approval of a resolution and advance funding agreement for bridge replacement at County Road 333 at Flat Creek. Commissioner John Clement.
This is from TxDOT. We have the match money to cover the county's portion of this bridge replacement. Last couple inspections, it's getting a poorer grade each time. And so it would be more beneficial to replace the bridge than it would be to try to make the repairs. So
How much is the match, John?
it's 54,000, I believe, is what it was.
Do you not have any, and you may not know the answer, do you not have any money banked through matching funds?
It's the credits. We have that all, it's all covered.
It's
You haven't
matched.
got a check.
It's matched.
Okay, yeah, that's what, okay.
And it's scheduled to take place in 2022. So I make a motion, we approve this.
We have a motion by Commissioner John Clement.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 9 is deliberate consider possible action regarding courthouse annex remodel. We do have some representatives from Komatsu here to have that discussion with us somewhere. So if you guys want to, I know that you guys have sent us some development plans are, it's before us right now, so give us an update on where we're at, if you don't mind, and we'll open up to questions after that.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you this morning? This is our, hello, Shelley. This is our 60% submittal, which is basically, you've had an opportunity to look at the 30% schematic design, which in the process of it, we had office spacing, new break room, bathrooms, new storage elements, within the second floor of the annex building. And upon your review, and per your prerogative, you saw a different design need for the second floor, which we took and started to develop that as well. However, as you found out, we've been talking with Judge Brinkley via the phone and by email, moving from office space to assembly space triggered some code issues. And so we, our structural design group brought to our attention some needs, and we brought that attention to the judge. And I do understand and do appreciate the fact that it does cause a little bit of heartburn and consternation between the court here for the changes that had to be made. However, upon review of these, we think, or not we think, we know that we can alter the occupancy of the upstairs area and thereby make you compliant with the needs that you wanted to go by, which was according to the instructions that we received. You wanted conference areas, things like that upstairs. We propose to continue to make this a business occupancy, however, changing meeting rooms to training rooms. I know that doesn't seem like much to you, but it does fall within the code requirements, which allows us to do the things that we did in this particular set of documents and be in compliance with the city codes and with the International Building Code. We did add, just for safety's sake, we did add an accordion door, a partition door, in the, let's see, in the southeast area of the south portion of the building. That will divide your training room, be training room A and training room B. We will have to, in order to meet this requirement by the building code, we will have to put in a maximum occupancy load signage at each door. That way, we do not fall into interference or in a problem with the current codes. So, in short, we have followed through with your request. We've given you the area that you'll need for voting, in the next voting, and also some for training purposes. We have continued to keep and have developed in this particular set of documents the restroom facilities, the break room facilities. We've added the water cooler that is requested, and of course, we will be adding the finishes, the carpet, the painting, and everything to basically take the first floor look to the second floor. That way you have a conformity. Okay? Any questions so far?
You mentioned you changed it from, I missed what you said, part of it's with the mask, I'm sure, Rick, but
I'm sorry. If it's okay, I can remove the mask.
if you're comfortable, but don't.
I'm comfortable as long as,
Yeah, we can barely hear you.
all right, sir, I'm so sorry.
No, it's,
You said you to make some changes, and I didn't hear what the original, Simpson, you used the term business occupancy.
Yes, sir, I'll say it again with a little bit better clarity. I'm sorry. In the original 35% submittal that we gave you, we had, the treasurer, the auditor, we had all the different various office spaces that were assigned to that second floor. This, according to the International Building Code 2015, which is what we are going by in this particular instance, it tells us that all of those offices fall under a occupancy building occupancy of B, which is offices, business, which was fine. We're okay with that. That way, the structural designers know what loads to design for. Are the current loads, is the current structure capable of holding the loads and all that, and everything was fine. Upon your review of the 35%, you saw it best to change, instead of moving office spaces in there, you saw best to utilize that for an assembly, for voting and whatnot, which was fine. Again, this is your prerogative, your building. However, for us, it triggers a different set of parameters. In other words, the building will allow for, what was the code, what was the per square foot on the building versus these?
Per square foot, essentially you could have, for assembly, you could have like 200 to 300 people up there, but with business, you can only have a limit of like 50 people. So pounds per square foot is escaping me right now, but it was quadrupling how many people you could have upstairs.
Right, the number of people would allow, but the code itself requires a certain amount of pounds per square foot for building, and when we moved to assembly, it doubled. So this raised a red flag with the structural engineer. We proposed we would have to investigate to make sure that the structure was okay, and we fully understand this brought about some concerns over previous tests that were done, and we fully understand, we want to concur with that. But we began to investigate it and began to look through the codes, and it did tell us, there was some exceptions to the code, which tells us that if we can limit the occupancy in these certain rooms, then we can keep it a B occupancy or an office occupancy. And just basically, instead of calling these rooms assembly rooms, we would just call them training rooms. It's just a matter of naming. So this is what we did. This then brought us back down to where we could go. However, again, we will have to place signs up, much like what we've seen throughout in other areas, that the occupancy loan will be a maximum of 50 per room. So if you're having people come in and vote, I think that was one of the reasons why we were going up there, was to have people vote, then you would have to limit the amount of people in there at one time, and that's all. And
We're talking, there appears to be 6 rooms now, so we have 300 people up there?
we have,
I'm looking at A1.01, Rick, is what I'm looking at.
yes, sir, it'll be 3 rooms.
I'm sorry?
3 rooms. On the east side, on the southeast side, again, like I said, we've provided an accordion door dividing wall, basically, that you can move back and forth, if you want to divide it into 2 areas. And that's kind of what we had to basically do to meet the requirements of the code, and plus allow you to utilize the rooms as you saw fit, with the exception that you'll have to limit the amount of people at one time in each of the rooms. Each of the rooms, according to our structural engineer, cannot have more than 50 people at one time in it.
So how many rooms do we have up there?
3, yes, sir, 3.
Instead of 6, we only have 3, so we got a total occupancy of 150 people on the second floor,
On the south end.
south end of the second floor.
Yes, sir. 217, 216, and 218.
Okay, and so now then you're suggesting accordion doors between 217, 16, 17, and 18 to the south room, which is...
Between 16 and 17, yes, sir.
16 and 17. You can open that up into one big room.
You could open that up and it'll be a larger room, yeah. The problem is again, like what we experience a lot in many of restoration projects that we do. It's bringing in some cases, very old buildings up to the 21st century. It requires a lot of work. These buildings, as I recall, when we first did the annex in 07, 08, I believe I'd heard it was 1865, is that correct? Commissioner
This
Clem?
building?
No, the annex.
There's-
Late 1850s, early 1860s. And these were definitely not designed for modern needs. And so in order to meet the modern needs that you require, we have to make sure that what is currently there does support that. And if it does not, then we have to reinforce.
I understand all that. I also remember when we redid that building, I was new then, but when we redid that building, they went in and took all that up, all the old stuff out, and there was a lot of engineering. I know,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was done to make the upstairs stronger, and a concrete subfloor was poured in, and there was quite a bit done to that building. So it's been modernized already one time around.
Yes, sir. It was modernized to meet at that time, the requirements for storage. And we were using the north end of the second floor for storage at that time. And basically, in the 08 renovation, was only renovating the lower level to place, I believe it was the district and the county courts and the lawyers and some other offices, I really don't remember, I'm sorry, at that time, till the completion of the courthouse was done. It was a temporary thing. And once the completion of the courthouse was done, then of course we moved the courts back to where they belonged originally. And so yes, sir, we had there was a structural examination of the building, and then there was a geotechnical report done where we cored the slab to find out if it would basically hold the assembly of a court area, which of course it did. And then we did a geothermal testing because we were putting in the elevator and at that time in the design, putting in the elevator and the new stairs. So we needed to know what the loads of the soil below the structural slab would hold. These all did exactly what they were supposed to do. We got all the information we needed. However, and in the design, and I think we didn't do too much in the 08 for the second floor up, but I think in the 2012 revisions that the county had hired us to do, there was going to be some storage, and I think that is now where the district clerk and the county clerk, I think, have their storage. An investigation was done, and yes, Commissioner Clement, you're correct. That is when we went in and beefed up that slab to meet the requirements of an S1 occupancy, which is storage 1, which basically fits everything that you have up there. You know, the filing cabinets, paperwork, things like that. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were wanting to.
No.
So
I'm reading and listening.
But we beefed up the second floor infrastructure.
on the north side, yes, sir.
So we didn't do anything at the foundation level, right?
No, sir. The foundations were there. They were fine.
And the concern now is, and we're using the word assembly, we're talking about assembly of people, not putting together a product.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And the concern now is that the ground floor foundation won't accommodate weight, or are we talking about the second floor?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I didn't.
The engine. All right. Where this became an issue, I think, is in the process of this latest planning, we determined that the second floor was not substantially constructed the whole way.
Oh, no, sir. It's with this new design, with this amended design, everything is fine. What was giving us concern was using the second floor as an assembly with the load transferring down through those columns on the south end. The structural engineer was concerned, what were those columns resting on? Were they resting on piers? Were they resting on the slab? What were they resting on? And with the occupancy load being assembly, they could not determine accurately for the safety of the people that would be up on that second floor whether those columns would penetrate the slab or not. However, again, moving to an occupancy of what we currently have in the design right now, that lessens the load if we can keep the occupants, the maximum occupancy to 50 people per area, we're fine. Everything is, the slab is fine. They have no concerns about the columns. We're ready to move forward.
But it restricts some of our potential future use with those numbers.
Yes,
Say
sir.
we want to go have a countywide meeting in one of those rooms, and we have 200 employees with 150-person occupancy, then we can't utilize that.
That is correct, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Under the current structure.
And I think my concern was, as many times as we've been in that building, and as many studies as we have no evidence to suggest that we've ever done a study that we should have known we had a problem before this point in time.
Yes, sir.
And this goes all the way back to prior to us purchasing this building. I believe there was an engineering study done, and we were told we were good. Then we came back and found out that whenever they put the office in the back and the stairs going upstairs, they cut some rafters or some support stuff up there that we spent about $100,000 on fixing after an engineering study, because we didn't identify that problem. We didn't realize that we had weakened the second floors, what I seem to recall. And again, it just,
Commissioner,
as many times as we've been in there, and as much as we've spent on engineering studies, that we find out at this point in the game that we're going to have to reduce our goals.
Well, I don't think you're going to have to, though, Gary. I think he's given us an opportunity that we're going to be able to do what we want to do anyway. We just got to, they changed the designation of the building, and it changes.
well, Commissioner, you will have to limit the amount of people up there at one time.
Well, you're not going to put 500 people up
With the
there.
current, with the
150, you can't even you can't have a Christmas party over there, upstairs, is what I'm understanding. Is that not a correct assumption?
we would not recommend more than 150 people on that south side.
South side.
So you couldn't, at one time, we talked about a large meeting room over there if we needed to, so that we could accommodate something like a countywide briefing and some of the safety stuff we've done over the years, and this would not let us do that. And I mean, that's where we are. We just need to understand it.
Yeah, we're,
But based on your current requested needs, we can meet that
And
with the current design that it has.
what happens if we decide now to go put 15 offices in one of these particular areas? Is that going to be a weight issue?
Your office should not be a weight issue. No, sir.
We should be able then, because this is basically going to be 2 open rooms that we can use for future growth,
Yes, sir.
okay? So if this body decides then to create that entire upstairs into admin-type facilities to house a variety, any of the offices that we have in the county,
You should be fine.
weight's not going to be an issue.
No, sir. Again, Commissioner, it's I believe you were in law enforcement before. It's the rules that we have to follow. When you consider what is over there, what is being loaded on those floors now, sense would tell you, oh, yeah, we can put anything up there. However, the code requires the engineers and the architects to design accordingly. And if we are not meeting those restrictions that the code brings down to us, then we are doing a misjustice to you in telling you that, yeah, you have no problems. Go ahead and do what you want to do.
Part of the problem that Gary's having, and I've got some of the same issues too, is Smith was the commissioner with Freeman at that time that oversaw this. I think, Shelley, you were involved some too. And I've talked to Al about this, and he said, oh, I remember he said, we had studies done on those columns and what they were resting on. He said, we did all that so we could do whatever we wanted to do upstairs. And he said, we had the north side beefed up, for anything we wanted to do, and the south side was supposed to be fine for pretty much anything else. And that covered offices to people to anything, and somewhere along the line, I don't know if something got lost or something got lost in the translation, but
If you remember, Commissioner, that's when you and I first met, was when we were doing that. You
yeah.
were,
But I wasn't part of that construction.
no, sir, no, sir.
I was involved in this one, but not that one. As far as involved, other than, yeah, I was on the Commissioners Court, but I didn't oversee the day-to-day operations of what was going on over there.
But I thought we beefed those piers up between the
Yeah.
north and the south side there and all that.
We were supposed to have.
And then we poured this, I don't know, it's 3 or 4 foot deep, right? The front of the doors where you go into what now would be the JP's office and stuff, because initially we was gonna put the elevator there.
Yes, sir, yeah.
And so, I mean, I know we've done a ton of structural analysis over the years, and it doesn't appear that we have any evidence to support. And maybe it's bad memory, maybe we don't recall correctly.
Well, we are trying very, very hard. We had 2 examinations that, in our possession. One, again, was the coring that we did on the south side, and the other was the geotechnical that I reminded you about, that was done in '08. Prior to that, we do know that a slab was poured prior to that. Steel columns were replacing the wood columns. That was before we got it, and matter of fact, I know I talked to Rick Kerr, I heard Rick Kerr a moment ago. I had even asked him, when the county purchased that building, do they happen to get the drawings that showed when that slab was poured, when those columns were put in? Because those would tell us, the necessary load information that the engineer would need. So that was pretty much after us, but looking at what we have and based upon the designs that we were proposing to do in the '08 revision, the 12 revision, and I think there was something going on in '17 that didn't finish out. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. But it was all based upon the first floor.
Find anything as far as an engineering study, because I think you guys looked at it before we ever even purchased that building. I think you guys done a structural engineering, or sent somebody up for a study to tell us that, before we spent the money, that it was structurally sound. And I think what I'm hearing you say is that the engineering standards have changed between '05 and...
That's the bane of our work is, yes, sir, the codes do change, the loads change. The study that we did do was from Frank Neal and Associates. You're absolutely correct. He went in and basically looked at the structure of the walls, the stability of the walls. You remember the big crack that we had up on the second floor? All of these things were addressed. Then we brought in, based on his report, that's when we brought in the geotechnical group to come in. And we wanted to take a look at the stability of the slab, since we didn't have any drawings on the slab. So they did a core. And so we got the information from the core, everything seemed fine. The only thing that they did come back with was that if we were going to go with, I'm sorry, that's not right. That particular report ended there, it was fine. However, in the 2012 revision that we were called on to do, you wanted to add storage to the second floor. So there was, apparently, I could not find any kind of a report, but obviously the structural engineers went out there and took a look at it and said, well, you've got to beef up these joists. You've got to do this in these locations. And that's what they did.
Find some documentation there, Rick?
Yes, sir, no, we have the documentation.
I thought you said you didn't.
The reports, we do not. But the documentation back in 2012 was very detailed on where the joists were going to be placed. And so that's
And it's the west half of the north side.
yes, sir.
So it just goes halfway back, it stops before you get to the elevator shaft, right?
That is correct. It was just the areas that you primarily have as storage right now. However, and this I was going to bring this up as I got to the structural plans here. We've had, I would say, 3 reviews out here where we've come out to the site to make sure everything is okay. On the last one, Julie Bolding of Armstrong Douglas, who actually did the 12 documents, came out to make sure to check on the current layout of the trusses, of the joists. And she said everything was fine, except on the far west end, the joists that were specified in the documents and were approved in the submittals are not the joists that are out there. So they have concerns about that, and they're basically saying what you have loaded out there right now is about your maximum, because apparently what the contractor put up was not what was in the documents. We only found this out after she went out there and looked at them.
Regardless of what we've been talking about in the last few months about this, we've talked about having a meeting room up there, but we haven't been talking about having an assembly for the whole county, not since I've been here.
Oh, at one point in time, that was something that,
That was one of the ideas we knocked around. It needed to be.
the drawing out there with that.
Yeah,
I'm
but right now, we're not
confused.
talking about doing that.
I'm confused. You talk about the slab. What are you
No, sir,
talking about?
not the slab. The slab is fine. Slab is on the first floor. The second floor joist is what we're talking
When
about.
do you think the slab was poured?
It had to be before '08, because it was,
They poured that concrete. You poured that concrete before we ever moved in it. That was done in the renovation, because I remember I walked in there one day and Al chased me out and said I didn't have a hard hat on.
We did that when we bought the building.
Yeah, we poured that slab when we bought the building. So that's been there from the beginning. That wasn't changed.
I just remember when we were standing out there and we were doing I may have to pick Gordon Marchant's brain on that one. When we were out there and we were doing the pre-bid, we were calling all the contractors out there to do that. We were standing on concrete. I do remember that.
Right, but it was excavated and,
So it was done before then.
and then we poured it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Ms. Shelley, is that slab was poured prior to the '08 documents that we did as Komatsu. And that's why we were asking about the footings and everything on those.
Let's see, my
But
concern,
y'all had
Rick,
been hired. I mean, we bought it, y'all had been hired.
it's been touched since '05, when we bought, well, prior to us actually purchased it, you guys done the study. There's not been an architect in that building other than
Other than us?
Komatsu
Okay.
since that day. So anything that's been done should have been documented, and we've not done anything without your supervision. So that's my concern as to why we may have reports, but we don't have documentation. And some of us, I'm sure, I was here, but do I remember every detail? Absolutely not, you know.
Well,
And that
again-
slab was dug up and poured when I was here.
Okay,
And I
okay.
came in '06.
Well, what I
Bought
may
the
have to
building
do is go
in
back, I'm sorry, I may have to go back to the archives, because that was before me. And when, in my thinking, I took it from the annex remodeling forward. So if I need to go back and double check that, I certainly will. My apologies.
I think you need to, because I was new then. We hired you all. Al and Shelley and Freeman handled the day-to-day operations, oversaw the construction. And like I said, I remember walking in there one day and, what are y'all doing? And you all were already involved. I see you all being your company. And
Yes, sir.
they had tested those poles, the structure, and the foundation, and they was pouring a slab under the whole thing and beefing it up so everything would be fine. Now, that's layman's terms, I understand. But that was one of the draws of getting you all back, is because the only architectural firm that's ever done anything with us in that building has been you all.
Okay,
That relationship's been there since '05.
Yeah.
Like I said
Oh,
before,
yes,
we
sir.
ever purchased it, because we looked to you guys for advice, and there was a considerable rub between your predecessor and one of the county judges after we had to go make about $100,000 in corrections between floor 1 and floor 2 because of what I described earlier.
yes, sir.
And I'm intrigued, we don't have the right, what's not in there, floor joist, or what did you say? No.
Yeah, when she looked up there, it was a different, it was more of a residential joist that we would not put up.
What?
More of a residential joist. So we're unsure, what.
What's there now, and I don't know what they're rated, but it's the type that they're making now. Looks like they've got 2x4s on top and bottom with pressed wood in between.
Yes, sir, that's a residential type of
What
a
is
joist.
there.
Yeah.
And again, why didn't we catch it? I mean, that's, I'm surprised at that because, I don't know if those rooms are actually full.
Yes, sir, we went back, we found a lot of email traffic on that. We did find out the engineer beefed those joists up to a 20-inch, and there was some communication between the county and, was it the county and the contractor, or was it the engineer and the contractor?
It was all of them.
All three together, that
And our architect at the time, she was no longer with us.
something about that wasn't in his bids and all that kind of stuff. And so the engineer said, okay, well, the loads would carry on a 16-inch joist as you put them in. They were put in fine on the eastern part of that court rooms, but on the far west, there was those webbed type joists that basically hold half of what the 16-inch will hold.
And see, had you not brought that up, I don't think anybody on the
Nobody
court
would
would
have
have
known the
known
difference.
it. And I
Well,
don't
that's what I'm saying. That's-
communicated to the clerks and stuff that just steady, carrying boxes
Sure.
over there.
Sure. And again, this is a situation where it can stay like it is. It's just you'll have to limit your loads. And again, Commissioner, I fully understand. I do understand. And I by no means am trying to back out of anything because I can't, of saying, well, I wasn't there. That's not an excuse. But what I am saying, though, is that currently, to meet the needs that you have asked about in this particular design, everything is fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, regardless of what's happened in the past, if we don't foresee needing more than 150 people up there, which I don't, it seems like we're okay. But I understand what y'all are saying, if some things got crossways and bad communication, it wasn't built like it's supposed to. I see where y'all are at.
Well, we've been arguing from day one that should be stronger upstairs than what it is, and it's kind of aggravating that if you still have archives, because I thought the communication was that to go back through the earliest stuff you have, because
Yes, sir. The earliest that I have was 07, 08. That's the only thing we have in our archives.
There should be some earlier than that. I have another question. I'm going to switch gears on you. We'll never get to any of the others. I notice it says existing historic metal casement windows, repair and refinish. I thought we wanted to replace all those. You understand?
I think we want to replace them all with new windows and add, actually, there's 2 cavities over there I think are bricked up.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, they're on the far east side. That's we're calling to open those up. That's where that plaster is on the outside.
Am I reading this wrong?
No, sir. The direction we had was to keep the windows and restore them.
No.
And we can do either way you want.
We never said
Out
that.
Windows, I mean,
I don't know who told you.
Windows need to be kept, but not,
you
we're
mean
talking
the
about
opening
putting.
needs to be kept.
The opening needs to be kept, but not necessarily the historic look of the windows. We can put modern windows in there
We want something that doesn't leak,
with less maintenance.
and less maintenance, that we're not repainting and reglazing every year and a half.
We don't want that rollout style anyway. We don't care, do we want them to open?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you put pane glass in.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What we can do, Commissioner, is we can basically, because that was one of my earlier comments to Marie. Marie is doing the design, and one of my comments to her was possibility of taking those that we have on the first level to the second level. That way you've got uniformity around the whole building.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That makes sense.
Okay, well, that's what we'll do. We can certainly do that. We'll use a dark bronze like we did on the lower end, and we will make those non-operable.
And to Commissioner Snuck's point, my concern is I don't want to reinvest money and find out where I am today, that I didn't get what I paid for, or I missed,
Yeah.
I
No,
didn't
and
understand, you know.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
respect
not
that.
harping on Rick, we've worked together for years, he knows, I'm not harping on him, but I want what we.
That's okay, Commissioner, you can harp. You have that right to do
He's
that.
harping a little bit, he's harping a little bit.
That's okay.
Our documentation needs to be there, it needs to be accurate, and we don't need to go in and occupy this thing only to find out or decide to do something different. So, oh my gosh, we didn't do this study, it's not, you know, we can't support the way, and like we're hearing today. I mean, it's just like, we didn't know these beams are not right above
Yeah,
the
really.
tag office. You know, that's the kind of stuff, that's the reason I'm just raising questions.
Yeah, no, and I'm fine, I just, in all of our conversation, like I said, I didn't think that we talked about even having anywhere near that many people up there.
Well, like I said, there's a drawing with the conference room up there.
About having like.
But when I think conference room, I don't think
I would never.
300 county employees.
Let's up.
I'm so sorry, I didn't. In regards to the Joyce situation, again, it's a situation where we do have those documented. And for reasons unknown to all of us in this room, why it was done on one side and went to a different type of a Joyce on the other, we don't know. We don't know, I know this is going to sound terrible, but what did the contractor do? We don't know. And again, that's not pointing a finger. It's just that we're investigating to make sure that what you want will be handled.
There was weekly meetings, and you guys came up every week, right?
Yes, sir.
Y'all sent
Yes, sir.
a representative up.
Absolutely.
And done walkthroughs and done inspections, and, you know.
Absolutely,
We missed them.
absolutely.
That was the local contractor here, right?
No.
Who was it?
Well, we've had so many, it's been renovated three
The
or four
first,
times.
the first renovation was a local, and he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, it was, I remember that.
Oh, I do remember that. And then
That
Daniel,
block-
who was Daniel with that came in the second time?
Do we have,
Majors.
did we have a name for the contractor on the 12?
The 2012, the contractor was Integrity Contractor.
Yes, yeah.
At least who's in the correspondence.
Well, the first one, remember the young man passed away,
Yeah.
Wages.
the leading,
Not real big.
the project.
This is, what, the fourth or fifth renovation?
How big do you think that break room is? Don't get out his slide rule.
It can fit a couple of people up there at a time, 4 or 5 people, it's about 11 by 14.
So 4 or 5 or a couple?
4 or 5.
We have people that would like to have a break room, I understand why.
Yes.
Well, you got a 4-position table drawn in.
Yeah, plus.
I don't want to build a little bitty postage stamp and then,
Right. It's not a cafeteria, but it
No.
can fit, you know, whoever's on break or at lunch. I would say 6 at the most people would fit
Okay.
comfortably.
That'd probably shouldn't have more than that on break at one time anyway, I wouldn't think.
I believe in our walkthrough that we originally had, that it was mentioned that you didn't want a whole lot of people in there, to kind of keep it small. So that's why we kept it with one size for one. You've got room for one table and a couple of people walking around. So,
Financially, are we better to turn those restrooms that direction than we are to position them directly above the ones below?
they are above the ones below. Yes, sir.
Well, but
They don't
the
mirror.
plumbing is in the north-south walls, and this would appear that they're gonna have to.
Yeah, our engineers saw no problem with rerouting.
Couple of elbows, I think. So I know the 2 commissioners on each end here have a lot more institutional knowledge about previous renovations than the rest of the court. But just to kind of recap, you're going to look back and see if there's anything pre-2007? Is that what, because you
I will again, Judge. I sincerely have looked and scoured our archives. I just never saw anything for Cooke County prior to 08, 07.
Well, but then you suggested you go back and look at some archives, and then later you said, well, I have looked at the archives. But we know, Rick, that prior to the purchase,
Yes, sir.
there should,
With that knowledge, I can certainly, we have, Commissioner, we have computer archives And then we have archives that are in storage somewhere that I don't have any clue about. Where
So there's still some archives out there that you can.
I can, I will make the investigation.
That
Yes,
were, that was pre 2007, 2008, pre that might be there.
So just to be clear, sorry to interrupt, we have looked at everything from 2008 and 2012, which were our documented projects.
I get it.
In all the,
But
in all the
at one
reports.
point, and I'm sure it's breakdown here, but at one point, I'm going to look at some archives, or I've looked
Well,
at
that
all the
was why I
archives,
was
but I
trying
got
to
some additional
recap.
ones I can go look at, so that's,
That was
we
why I was
have
trying to-
some possibly out there.
Yeah.
To recap is to make sure that everybody is on the same page of everything, you've looked at and evaluated everything from 2008, that remodel period of time forward, but there may be potentially something going back based on previous recollection. But the main issue, really, as I see it, is, and I agree with the layout currently laid out here as the best course forward, but whenever this building was renovated before, number one, the 2015 code obviously was not in play because it wasn't 2015 yet. And the second one being the use at the time was more administrative, looking at it from administrative purposes and not potentially assembly purposes. So those were the two things that drives the reason why we had the conversation over the last couple of weeks or a couple of months about needing additional testing.
That is correct,
And we
Judge.
found this as a workaround that as Commissioner Snuggs pointed out, probably accommodates the vast majority
And I'd
of
like you to understand, Court,
everything going
please,
forward.
please understand, we're not trying to get around anything.
No, it's a
Our
solution.
goal is your safety, and to try to dodge code is not in our DNA. However, but what we are doing is saying is that we can do this if you do this.
Yeah.
And by you, I'm talking about limiting the to 150 people on that
Judge,
second
he's
floor.
saying don't use that workaround term.
I understand. We found a solution.
So we will move.
What's troubled me, we got the wrong floor joist up there. I used to give you a hard time about this building. We pay for all this stuff, but then how do we know it really got done right? How do we know?
We laugh about that in
I don't
in
laugh about
architectural firms, is that, there has to be a trust factor between the architects and the contractors at some point. That's why we get so picky about our contractors.
It was just an update, and if we kind of have a little bit of a better understanding all the way around, I think going forward.
Well, we will go ahead and adjust the windows. I'm glad you said that because I think she was getting ready to start
We
detailing.
needed an update. We were about to get those old windows rebuilt. Gee, cripes. What else is in here we don't know about? See, now you got me worried, because, are we missing anything else, Gary?
That wasn't an update, that was a revelation.
That was revelation. Okay.
Well, this was sent electronically, so each of y'all should have gotten a copy of that. I think I got it late Friday, so be sure to go through it, and we'll,
Yeah, I mean.
Please go
fact that
through
we
it,
just
let
got
us know.
Yeah, hadn't had
through
time to
this
digest
today,
it.
they may be several
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, I had,
Please do so before we move into the detailing stage, but we will make
it's a Russian conspiracy.
Technical difficulties there. I don't know what was going on.
I'm glad you didn't say Syrian conspiracy.
I didn't bring that up. Oh, Lord.
Anything else, what we have Komatsu here that we need to discuss on that, or are we good to move on?
I think we're good to move on for now.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming up
Thank you.
and going through all that with us.
Thank you very much. It's my
Rick.
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Take her.
We fixed, Daryl? Sort of.
I don't have that ringing in my ears.
That's the future agenda items about a new PA or a new audio system for commissioners. Item number 10 is deliberate and consider possible approval of waiving the 25% rule for purchase limitations by the Sheriff's Department on the following items, which is body camera software installation that was originally approved FY20 budget, but available in FY21. And Sheriff.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
If, first I want to start, if you look at your agenda, there's actually two items. They're two totally separate things. So I'll talk to you about the first one is the, back before the end of the last year's budget, we bought the WatchGuard body cam systems. We were able to get the cameras themselves in our possession before October 1. But because of the ransomware, we were not able to get the software and the installation of all the components that go with the cameras. So the cameras are not in use yet because we don't have this section of the purchase we made. So I'm here to ask you today to approve the waiver to spend the 25% of the line, and also this is the balance of the original PO that was let for the purchase of the body cams. This is Chapter 59 money.
So we approved it last year.
Right.
And we're halfway through an install, sounds like, because of the.
Well, we're waiting for the green light to, we can't, because it's now 21 budget, I can't purchase the remaining part of the contract unless y'all approve it.
And it's forfeiture money anyway.
Yes.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 11 is to deliberate and consider possible approval of waiving the 25% rule for purchase limitations on the following line items. Cloud installation and management program from WatchGuard camera systems, including in-car videos and cameras for $29,300, and budget amendment for the same. Sheriff.
Okay, what this is after we get everything all set up and running, this is a cloud system for the storage of the WatchGuard body cams and in-car videos. It is also paid with Chapter 59 money the first year. It's a $29,000 startup. The estimate for the maintenance fee ongoing years are $20,000 a year. Clouds are a little bit above my head, so what I brought with me today is Izzy from WatchGuard. He'd like to make a short presentation to you on the cloud and what it can and can't do to give you all an idea of what we're asking for.
Thanks, Sheriff. Good morning, gentlemen. So, as Sheriff mentioned, my name is Izzy Valdivino. I work with WatchGuard Video, I'm the regional sales manager for WatchGuard. We're actually part of Motorola. Late last year, we were purchased by Motorola. At a very high level, we use a Microsoft Azure government cloud. So any video that we store, there's all kind of government-related, law enforcement-related. We use a data center here in Texas. It is all CJIS compliant, and this is the same application and software that is used by Texas DPS, right, to manage all their in-car and body-worn video. A couple things that we do that are different. When video is uploaded, and this may be relevant for y'all because of the ransomware that was recently experienced, when video is uploaded to the cloud, we make 3 copies. So we have the original copy and then 3 additional mirrored copies, just to ensure the security of the video. So from this application, everything is managed. You have access to it. It is still controlled by our end users, which is obviously in this case the Sheriff's Department. So that's a very high-level overview of the solution, but I'm here to answer any questions that may surface on your part.
For educational purposes, what's our alternative to the cloud?
Sure. So alternatively, there's two models really. There's one, we're in the cloud, which is what we proposed. The other model is to house everything here locally, right? So it would be a standalone server, and then at that point you'd have to worry about backups, backup power, physical security of it. But that is your 2 alternatives, either in the cloud or locally.
And Daryl, maybe you can answer this question. Currently on body cam software, we store all that locally, correct?
Yes, we do.
And that was not part of the previous ransomware incident, but that's on a similar situated type server.
That's correct.
And Terry and I talked about this a few weeks ago, and I'm in favor of, and I'll let Darrell give his point of view on it, but I think I'm in favor of going with the cloud-based system. It's a much more secure system than having everything locally housed on local servers. But I don't know, I'll let Darrell talk about his thoughts on it.
I'm also in favor of going cloud,
Why?
just because we don't have to worry about the care and feeding of it. We don't have to keep it powered up, cooled, any of that stuff.
So from the
What's a server cost?
The server that they provide, I don't have a cost on, just in general, a server with a bunch of storage, maybe $6,000. Plus.
What's the life cycle on that server?
4 to 5 years.
My concern's the 20,000 a year for an indefinite period. And it may be practical, I'm just.
Well, I think you also got to include in that the time it takes Darrell to maintain that server as part of the cost, in that the additional software of security software and the vulnerability of a locally housed server is also something I think that needs to be factored into that.
So in other words, you're saying they have better protection than what we do?
Significantly. No offense to Darrell, but I think the ransomware attack was very much eye-opening as to how much more secure off-site storage and cloud storage is to having anything locally. They have I'm assuming, and I don't mean to speak for you, but you guys have a team that is dedicated to security.
Yeah, this is all.
And we have a smaller IT team that, while security is a main position of their department, is by no means the only thing that they're worried about.
I was wondering how you was going to dig yourself out of that when you went down that road.
Very eloquently, I hope. That is not a dig on Darrell, but
I guess it will be any future sheriff's decision as to whether or not to continue to use forfeiture money. Could we always use forfeiture money to pay that 20,000?
You can if it's available.
Yeah, if it's available. In theory, there's not going to be any less crime, probably going to be some available. That's if we keep law and order.
This is, also you have to, this is benefits the county attorney and the district attorney. They will have access to the cloud. So it's where they can pull things into their office, evidence-wise. We're not going to worry about losing a single DVD of the video off the car. It goes to the cloud, it's accessible to anybody who has the proper clearance to see it. So it's a tool for prosecution as much as it is for arrest and patrol.
How long will that information stay there? How many years will be stored?
So typically by the contract, it's up to 10 years. So at the end of 10 years, the agency has to do something with it. Either they're burning it to disk, offloading it, and put it into physical evidence.
You're saying DPS is currently using it?
They are transitioning to it, sir. Yes, sir.
You'd like to think they've done their homework. They think it's obviously secure.
So after 10 years, it'll get burned to a disk. I know some instances, the courts take several years, by chance go longer than 10 years.
Well, there's capability of flagging that one specific case where it would never go away.
Okay.
It's designed that where everything's on a timetable. If you don't tell the cloud, save this video, it circulates and will drop everything. But if you say, hold for 90 days, unless you flag that video to stay, everything 89 days prior goes away.
Even on the cloud? Even if we go to the cloud?
That is
That
correct.
is the cloud.
No.
well, even locally, that's what
This
happens.
sets parameters.
Who flags that, Terry?
Either the patrol supervisor or CID supervisor.
So somebody is out there, they know.
Yeah, within 90 days, you should have a docket. You know what you're going to do. And there are just certain cases that you know it's going to come up and be flagged. And if you don't use it, you don't have to have it. But, all violent crime would be flagged.
Just to add to that, there are controls within the application, that as soon as a video, as an example, is categorized as an arrest, there's a retention policy behind every single video that's created. And as soon as that video is added to a case within the workflow of the sheriff's department, that by default will keep that video online unless it's physically deleted or the case is dissolved.
Everyone's moving forward. It's, to be honest with you, we could pay $29,000 this year and come up 3 years from now, have to have it, and pay the price, it probably won't be $29,000.
Is that 20,000 annual subject to go up?
So we haven't increased the price in the last 3 years. Realistically, as new features are added, potentially it could be something that if a customer wants to add additional features, sure.
Say we use the cloud for 3 years, all of a sudden we decide to make a different financial decision. Is there a way to transition that information that will be on the cloud back to server-based?
Great question. So absolutely. So that video, we want to make sure if an agency decides to exit, go a different path, or maybe they have a different infrastructure that they want to leverage, our goal is to make sure that that video is still usable and more importantly, searchable, right? So we don't want to just do a data dump, a video dump, and, good luck. We want to make sure, and we're committed to that, to making sure that that video, if an agency decides to take a different path, is still in a usable format.
But say we got 3 years of data out there.
Sure.
Can you not dump that 3 years to a server?
Sure, absolutely. Yep.
Move to approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Item number 12 is deliberate and consider possible approval of Precinct 3 exceeding the 25% spending limit in order to pay its portion of iWork invoice.
That is for the new road and bridge software that we are currently using to keep up with all FEMA and all road work. Without this system, we won't be able to continue with our FEMA tracking.
Is this simply because the time the invoice hit? I mean, you
Yes.
pay it annually, right?
Yes.
And it's just because the invoice is due between now and the first of the year?
Correct.
I'll make a motion we approve. Second. Second by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 13 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding tree trimming and removal of certain county property, not removal of county property.
Yeah, it
but
says
removal
we're
from-
removing county property.
Depends on how much you're grinding out.
Where are you taking it, Rick? County property.
I'm sorry.
Never mind. It's gone.
So I just got an updated quote on the 2 pieces of property there across from the library, and that's what I laid on your desk there. And it's to, as it states there, he's going to cut down all the trees, leave the ones that are away from the street up about 4 or 5 feet tall, so that you guys can get on them and dig them out yourself easier. And then the trees, there are 7 trees right along the curb line. They will take those down, and then to grind those, it's $595.
Guys, I know we talked about that, leaving them up 4 or 5 foot, but it seems like thoughts more recently, or do we ever want to have to mess with them for concerns about utilities, sidewalks, and stuff of that nature?
Well, those along the sidewalk, you're not going to be able to pull them up along the curb.
And that's what the 7.
Yeah, I'm talking about the 12, John. You know,
12,
we talked about leaving them 4 or 5 foot, so we had something to push on for leverage. But, in hindsight, the more I think about it, I don't want to mess with them up here in town, like I said. And what dig tests look like out there?
They marked everything out there, all of anything other than a sewer line from the city. Everything else is on the south side of the road, across the road.
So you're saying there's nothing around that radius all the way and nothing along the frontage where the EMS station is, nothing that way either back to 2071?
Correct. There is a sewer line there, but it's 8 feet deep. So, but there are no cables or anything on that side of the road.
I'll go back up and look at that and we'll see about.
You got a power line running through that first section.
Yeah. If you're heading south until that elbow.
Yeah.
But, and still, my position on those is we push them out the road if we have to with the track loader, and then push them back off the road with the rubber tire. And I'm guessing the city's not gonna have any issues with that.
Didn't at one point in time when I asked, but we can
As
ask.
long as they
again.
let us burn them there.
Then we burn them. And that should take care of that fence row from Caden's around to 2071.
I'd rather pull all the stumps out of that parking lot. That's what you intend to do with it, is parking lot, and to try to grind all that down deep enough. I think we'd be better served if we dug them out. I'll dig them out.
Oh, you dig them out the track hole?
I'll
Or
dig,
something?
yeah, with that excavator.
You're gonna have to dig them out anyway if you're gonna make a parking
Yeah,
lot.
you're
out.
gonna dig 'em out
dig
anyway.
The yard out and move the material.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna dig them, you need the 5 foot on top of them?
I don't know, about 5, 3 or 4, something to get a hold of them with. It makes it easier to handle them. I don't know if it needs to be 5 foot exactly, but
Did you say you had 2 bids? Or did you say a new one?
This is updated.
New one, this is an updated one from what he, this one's about $1,000 cheaper than the other one was.
like 5 foot is fine, yeah. Something we can get a hold of and pry around on them.
He wrote 4 to 5 feet on his.
That's fine. You're gonna have to get them out of there anyway. I'll bring the excavator up here and we'll dig them up.
Well, and the taller it is, and if you're pulling on it, the more leverage you have.
Yeah.
My concern there is just where's the root when he grabs it and what, do we know whether or not there's any utilities there?
I don't
Guess
think
we'll
we do
find
that.
out.
I'll get Dig Test and the city to come and look at it.
You might want to know that though before you make this decision.
Well, we're
I mean, unless you're just blatantly wanting, I mean, if you're just
Well, you're
ready
gonna have to get them out of there. If you're really you're gonna have to do a bunch of dirt work to that, and you're gonna have to get them out of there. Grinding them off isn't gonna do any good, because you're gonna have all the roots and everything left behind, so.
I didn't know if you might want to let a dirt contractor deal with that when they do the parking lot.
But I'm not gonna touch it until somebody does dig test. Do
Well,
what?
since there was 2 homes there at one time, there's bound to be gas lines going to the homes that won't be that deep. And then there's gonna be sewer lines and there's gonna be water lines, so they've all been.
The city will be able to locate the taps for us, we're.
They'll cut them off, I would think.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to be disconnected no matter what we do.
Right.
It may already be.
Yeah, who knows?
Probably turned off, but the line is probably still there, which is a problem. You start pulling on that line, it's tied to the main under the street.
Yeah, it needs to be disconnected.
That's why you're gonna get them disconnected,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
And then we'll dig up the stump.
All right, have any action on that?
You need a motion?
I do.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Leon Clement to approve the work on the vacant lots at the library, seconded by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion?
Yeah. When will this start to happen? The sooner the better.
I'll see when he can do it.
Probably want to go ahead and contact 201 in the city.
Yeah, get the
Yeah.
city going and,
811.
yeah, and find out where everything is or isn't. And
These guys can do their work.
Yeah, they can get that part
Nothing they're
done,
doing's underground.
But I don't want to dilly-dally around and
Oh,
in February still be waiting for somebody to cut the trees down. If he can't do it
somebody else.
within a reasonable, and reasonable was within a month, to
I'll
me.
find out. Okay. I'll
And
find
some of those, when they grind them, they ought to grind them, foot below the surface, and they might get into something around those residential.
Yeah, you need to have that all looked
I'd
at.
want it all dig test before I turned him loose.
Yeah.
Go ahead and contact both of them.
Yeah, I will.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
What did y'all decide? The whole thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Shelley's got to move money around. I think you got the money to pay for this out of your, I think, based on conversation her and I had on Friday or Thursday, one of those days. But we're going to have to move money back into that because you couldn't do any mowing in the future.
Oh, it'd come out of contract services? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that much money in there, but,
But that's all there is, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We dug up we pushed out the chain link fence, it's gone. Y'all hauled it off, didn't you?
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Rick. Item number 14 is deliberate and consider possible action on various grant funds. First up is FEMA 2015 fund. Flood, excuse me. Anything new on FEMA?
No.
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 B is FEMA 2020 COVID-19. Do we have anything new on this, Shelley? Do you know of?
No.
Neither. Item C is CARES funding. We do have the 2 MOUs from Munster ISD and Civils Bend ISD. That
Motions to.
Gainesville's not on the list, but we also have Gainesville in there as well.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Hollowell, seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. Any,
And also, the plan is due by Friday.
the plan is do what?
By Friday
Yeah.
on claiming the remaining portion that we didn't get, the 80% that we didn't get sent
And
up
we're-
front.
Are we good to go on all that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll get it submitted.
Okay. And that has to be, that plan basically has, we already have the documentation of expended funds for the most part, but it has to be in by
The
30th
13th.
of December.
Yeah. The submission of documents on how it's spent has to be in by December 15th,
Yeah.
but the plan on what you're spending it on has to be in by Friday.
Sounds good. Did I vote on that already, Pam? I have not. Yeah, one of them's you shaking your head yes, one of them's no. Did I take a vote on that? But did we call a vote? Uh-huh. Did we vote already? Okay, I'm just making sure. Item D is public safety COVID grants.
I finally got the money moved, but the budget adjusted on that to move it out of overtime for the jailers into housing inmates. So the remaining amount is 29,000. We did receive our first check of 93,000 for the inmates through September 30, from March to September 30. And so that will close that grant when we
Once
hit,
you submit the.
yeah. But I do believe the jail is getting some prisoners out.
They're starting to move them, I
Yeah.
think, a little bit. Good deal. Anything further on that? If not, E is CTIF road grants.
No, I just need to get some expenses submitted.
Extensions on CTIF?
Expenses?
Expenses, not extensions.
Expensive,
Made me nervous there.
I need to submit some expenses. I can't talk with this.
Anything further on road grants? If not, F is election grants. I think we're already expended everything and we're good to go on that.
Yes, I just need to submit the documents. When, on the HAVA grant, they won't open the second phase.
Until you submit the first, is that it?
Well, the first one was through July 31st, and then I guess November 30th is the second one. I guess
okay.
when they open the second one, and those will be submitted and finished. But yes, we've
Been
spent all of that and then some.
Good deal. Item 15 is executive session in compliance with Texas Open Meetings Act 551 of the Government Code. We got personnel matters, consult with attorney, and deliberation regarding security devices and audits. We'll take a quick little break and convene into executive. It is 12:06. We are back in regular session. Item number 16 is deliberate and consider possible action on public health emergency declaration for COVID-19. Ray, you want to give us just a real quick briefing on where we're sitting?
We continue to see a slow growth in COVID cases over the weekend and through the last couple of weeks. Hospitalizations are up, active cases are up, and unfortunately, fatalities, we have incurred more, and I would expect that we will see a few more. I think it's important right now as we go into what would be our traditional virus and flu season to not underestimate this and to realize that at this time we would expect that it would also increase in its natural environment, and for everyone to take those precautions seriously as much as they can. Stay out of large groups. Don't get yourself exposed around people that you're not familiar with. If you can wear a mask, please do. I think it helps protect everyone else from you with asymptomatic transmission, where we may not know that we have it and are carrying it until it's too late and before it manifests itself. So the statistics are up on the Cooke County Pandemic Information page. As of Friday, it was 108 active cases, 868 total cases, and 11 fatalities with 14 hospitalized. There's no rhyme or reason. Generally, younger people do well or better with the virus than older folks. People with pre-existing conditions or comorbidities are having a harder time with it. We are finding that more people are getting sick as we continue to see our numbers getting higher. So it's just a matter of percentages that as we get more people testing positive, more people contracting it, more people get sick. So be careful, do the best you can to take care of yourself and your family.
Any questions for Ray?
We have been also, just as we noted, working with our partners throughout the county on a vaccine preparedness plan and initiative. It's going well, planning with both hospitals and the city to make sure we are prepared for whatever that eventuality is as it rolls out. So trying to do our homework and find out as much information as we can to make sure we're ready to help all the providers and clinics and offices out there provide that vaccine when we do get it.
And I think that's a good point to note. The vaccine or probable vaccine is still in the late development stages. It looks like some of them may shortly be approved, but that's going to be a slow rollout, and it's going to take a several-month process as well. So we're still trying to get the idea of what that looks like at the local level. I know the state's working on that as well as the federal government, and we plan to be prepared whichever avenue that does indeed take. Any questions by anybody else? Appreciate the update, Ray. Item 16 will be no action. Item 17, deliberate and consider possible action regarding security devices or audits. I don't have anything on that. Future agenda items?
Personnel stuff that
Yeah.
we were talking about?
Yeah, we need to make sure we get
No one
personnel
forget
action.
about that.
Yeah.
Personnel. And then, keep after Rick on those trees and
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah,
I
we'll
really
get-
would like to get that done.
Yeah. Anybody have anything else? Not 19 is to adjourn. Whoa.
Ooh, oh. Carpeting we didn't.
We didn't have that, we didn't talk about
Have that
that.
on there, if that needs to be a future agenda.
Yeah, we need to make sure to keep that on there. I meant to talk about that when we talked about the remodel.
Yeah, the
But the
court.
carpet, yeah. It's supposed to
be in
start
there?
tomorrow.
It's gonna get done?
Yeah. Tomorrow is the start date, supposedly.
No hiccups?
We'll see when we see, but it's scheduled for tomorrow.
But it's scheduled, okay.
So
That's all.
we'll have an update on that, hopefully, actually some movement next
Good.
court.
Okay.
19 is to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement, seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.